Shalom everyone. Recently I posted some slides on some things that we are being overcome by and some ways to overcome them. After I released that, I just felt in my ruach that I should start a series so I can discuss and go in more detail about a lot more things that we are being overcome by and a lot more ways to overcome them. As I was seeking the Most High, I felt led to start the series off going over shame. And as I was self-reflecting and as I was praying, I realized that I deal with shame too. And so I'm just going to go over, a few things that we do that are rooted in shame, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to overcome them. Oxford's definition of shame is a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior, a loss of esteem, dishonor, regrettable or unfortunate situation or action. The Ivrit word for shame is bashet, which also means shameful thing, ashamed, and confusion. Bashet is made up of the Ivrit characters Beit, Sheen, and Tau. Beit meaning house, division, Sheen, destruction, consumed, and Tau, marker and covenant. So now I'm going to list a few ways that you may be dealing with shame. Do you find yourself constantly reliving the past? When constantly reliving the past, you create emotional and psychological barriers that can prevent you from moving on. This allows other negative emotions like anxiety, fear, depression, and worry to overcome you as well. When we're overcome mentally, we cannot ward off any spiritual attacks which can cause us to be thrown off the path the Most High has ordained for us. Do you suffer with perfectionism? And I can say I definitely struggle with that. Do you set unrealistic goals for yourself? Do you set things so high that you bite off more than you can chew? Shame is a defense mechanism which is often stemmed from feeling inadequate and unworthy, and can lead you to strive perfection as a way to avoid those feelings. If you suffer with low self-esteem or if you suffer with low confidence, oftentimes you may develop perfectionism as a way to make you feel better about yourself. If you struggle with perfectionism, you may also struggle with procrastination. Perfectionists often procrastinate to avoid making mistakes due to the fear of failure. Do you have low self-esteem? And a lot of us can be suffering with low self-esteem and not even realize that we're suffering with it. Do you talk down on yourself? Do you think negatively about yourself? Do you wish that you were created differently in the way that you were created? That's dealing with low self-esteem, and that is shame. Do you react defensively when receiving constructive criticism or feedback? And I would say that was something that I used to deal with, and that also goes along with the perfectionist thing, and I'm going to explain that in a bit. So most of the time when I would get constructive criticism or feedback, it would be from my parents, and then it would be publicly. I'm not publicly like out in public, but it would be like in front of the family. And for me, I used to hate it because it was kind of embarrassing to be called out. I don't know how to describe it, but y'all know how it is when you get caught out for something that you did. Sometimes it can be very embarrassing. And also, it kind of goes hand in hand with the perfectionist mindset, because for some people, like myself, it kind of made me feel like I failed or something, or that it was failure. And so for me, getting called out on things that I used to struggle with that I thought I overcame, it was like, dang, like it made me feel like I really didn't overcome those things, or I failed at something that I shouldn't have, or I shouldn't still be going through this. And that's what it was for me. Constructive criticism is really good as a whole because it allows you to grow. Sometimes it's hard for us to see ourselves because we have this view of ourselves that we may think others may have that others do not have. It really is a blessing, I would say. It's really a good thing to have someone or people who love you enough and care about you enough, and to see the things that you struggle with, to see the spirits that are on you or trying to attach themselves, that are able to tell you about them. When you overcome those things, it's going to benefit you. And another example of a way you may be overcome by shame, for myself, there would be times where I did something and I knew I wasn't supposed to do it, and I did it anyways. Well, after the fact, when it would come down to pray, because I pray every morning at night, it would be so hard for me to say that nightly prayer or that morning prayer because I knew I had done something that I shouldn't have done. And then at other times, it would be, let's say I used to do something or I overcame something that I struggled with, and I would give in to that temptation. I would feel so bad because it's like I thought I overcame that, and I prayed so much about it, I fasted on it, and I reverted back. it would be so hard for me to pray. In that moment, I was also unknowingly being overcome by pride. So shame can also lead to pride. And the reason I say that is in that moment, I neglected the Most High. I did not pray, and that's pride. And unknowingly, if we keep doing it, it becomes a habit. So that is another way that, shame can lead us away from the Most High, because if you're not praying to Him, how can you strengthen a relationship? How can you establish a relationship? So that is another way shame can pull you away from the Most High.
Sirach 5:7 says, "Make no tarrying to turn to Yahuwah, and put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of Yahuwah come forth, and in your security you shall be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance."
How to overcome shame? The very first thing I recommend is to seek wise counsel. Proverbs 11:14 says, "Where no counsel is, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety." And counsel can be anyone who can offer you wisdom, support, and guidance. And I'm dealing with shame, or if I'm dealing with a problem, I go to my mom and talking to her. And sometimes it can be embarrassing, but when I talk to her, I know she has a relationship with the Most High. I know she seeks the Most High. And I know if I tell her about this problem I'm dealing with, she can offer some guidance, because she may have gone through it herself, or she may be hearing from the Most High. And so I know going to her, she can offer me wisdom, guidance, and support. My parents are my wise counsel. But for others, your wise counsel can be your friends who are being led by the Most High. It could be a leader or an assembly or someone you're under. And you can even be family members, siblings. Talking to someone kind of lessens the load. But I know when you're dealing with shame, it can be embarrassing. You don't want anyone to know the things you're doing, or the things you have done, or the things you're going through. But for your good, it's best to seek someone who can help you. Next thing I recommend is to practice humility.
Oxford's definition of humility is a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness.
True humility involves acknowledging one's limitations or imperfections. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and practicing humility involves acknowledging them. Humble people do not have a high view of themselves. They realize that they make mistakes. They realize that they are not perfect, and they realize that there are things that they need to work on. They don't feel embarrassed because they have a confidence about themselves, not vanity, but they know their worth. And they realize that making a mistake doesn't diminish them, doesn't diminish their importance, doesn't diminish their worth, it doesn't diminish anything about them. So when you practice humility, embarrassment is hard for you to experience. And I'm not saying that they don't feel embarrassment ever, but for the most part, for small mistakes, from receiving criticism, they don't really feel embarrassment for them because they don't have a high view of themselves. And humility also involves, like I said earlier, involves being open to constructive feedback and criticism. Humble people invite feedback and criticism because they want to know, they truly want to know the things that they are struggling with. They truly want to know the ways in which they err so that they can work on themselves for their good. So I would definitely recommend practicing humility. Shame often leads to defensiveness and avoidance. So I recommend that when you're feeling that shame, just tell yourself, I made a mistake. I want the Most High to forgive me, and I truly want deliverance from it. And the only way I'm going to be delivered from this shame or from this transgression is to pray. And so I definitely recommend praying. Like I said, put your pride aside. Fasting is also another good way to overcome shame or any other transgression. When we fast, we put our flesh under subjection and we put the will of the Most High first. And it's also a great way to discipline your mind. But I definitely recommend fasting and praying. So if you're dealing with shame, pray and ask that your shame be removed and that He forgives you for your transgression. Affirmations. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says Yahuwah, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." Get into the habit of talking and thinking positively about yourself. Whatever you say will come into fruition. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." And also get your thoughts under subjection. Whenever you feel your thoughts spiraling, remember, for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. If your shame is with low self-esteem, Just tell yourself you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The Most High created you for a reason. He created you to be His vessel. He created you for a purpose. Your life has meaning. Your life has a purpose, and you have a role to fulfill. So just tell yourself that. The Most High created you the way He wanted you to be created. If it's pride, denounce pride. Denounce low confidence. Denounce low self-esteem. Denounce all these things, all these ruachs that are overcoming you. Denounce them. You've dealt with these things, but you no longer want to deal with them. You're going to overcome them. And you're going to start facing those things head on. If it's shame, talk about your shame. Talk about those things that are causing you shame. The best way to overcome something is to confront it. Tell yourself, that you're going to overcome these things, and you will overcome these things. And once you start having that mindset, you're going to start living it. So that is all for today's video dealing with shame. I hope you all enjoyed it. I pray that some of you can come away with this delivered, or this may help some of you who are dealing with shame. At the end of the day, I just pray that the Most High's will be done, and that He gets the glory in the end.